Hello, this is Martha with Living the One Light. And today I want to speak to a set of issues and energies around the whole topic of um, essentially Aquarius and change and um, what that process entails. And I'm recording this video on Thursday, the day before the full moon in Aquarius in 2021. But everything I'm feeling called to speak to is really relevant anytime. And as I think about the bigger context of this time that we're in, this theme, this Aquarian theme is, very prominent and prevalent and has been really prevalent and prominent, especially in the last year and a half, and will continue to be for the next, many, many years to come, but especially in the next 2 to 3 years. A lot is going to be happening with these Aquarian energies. and in a couple of years, Pluto will be moving into Aquarius, so that then, for many, many years, we're going to have this underlying tone of this Aquarian imperative collectively. So with this full moon coming up tomorrow in Aquarius, I'm feeling just this nudge. It's like a nudge from the spirit world to speak to a lot of what this energy is and how it plays out, and what the wisdom of it is, and the relationship it has to other planetary energies and other needs and other wisdom in existence. So where I think I want to start is just, what is this Aquarian energy? Well, obviously a lot of people have different ways of explaining it or conceiving of it. What I'm really feeling drawn to and really resonate with personally is the idea of Aquarius that my main astrology teacher, Ari Moshe Wolf, describes it as the vision, essentially the vision of the divine that we see unfold, that maybe we haven't seen before, or that we are now being challenged or given the opportunity to help envision and make manifest in a way that is different from, or that challenges, or that expands, or that moves beyond the constructs of our current society. So he often will point out that, in every moment, in every culture or particular socioeconomic, cultural context, there are very different concepts of what is accepted, what is normal, what is status quo. And so, and that those things are typically associated with Saturn. But what we consider Saturnian normalcy changes every minute, or even, you go to different, obviously different places in the world and different cultural subsets, and there's going to be an infinite number of normal, quote unquote, what is normal concepts. So Aquarius is the challenge or the balance to the Saturnian energies, because Aquarius is kind of helping us take the next step. So there's, the way that Ari puts it, is that there's no, well, and actually his partner Michelle, who I do a lot of videos with, puts it that we're remembering the future. Like there is no now I'm speaking as me here. In my concept of things, there is no time and space. There is no future. There is no past. I mean, there is. we experience life that way. But the ultimate reality of existence is simply existence. That's the main thing I get shown when I go into my praying is, existence just is. It's like this ultimate stillness of nothing. So, and yet energy is also in constant motion. It's like the paradox of those two things. But what is so beautiful to me about this concept of Aquarius is that Aquarius is often associated with the future and innovation, which I agree with in a certain way, but I love this way of thinking of it is that it's Aquarian energy is just the energy of us remembering essentially ourselves. It's like the vision of the divine just being revealed to us more and more and more clearly in different aspects over what we conceive of as time. and then it's in this balancing kind of relationship with Saturn. So, or with a Capricorn, which is ruled by Saturn. And what's also really key and is being emphasized through this whole year with Saturn squaring Uranus rules Aquarius, Saturn rules Capricorn, is that we need both. We need the status quo, we need stability, we need like a known structure, things we can count on in the world, that we're not just going to be blown wide open into constant chaos and newness all the time. And evolution is moving us, further and further and further into a remembering of the divine. And Aquarius, the Aquarian Uranian energies impel us to that remembrance more and more. That's one way I conceive of this dance between these energies. So we're very, very strongly in this dance this whole year of 2021. Sorry. And we're in this dance really. I mean, we're all existence is always in this dance, but this dance is particularly highlighted in these few years right now and moving forward. And we are all being guided and challenged to, in our own ways, wake up continually to the remembrance of the vision of the divine that we are here to manifest in whatever way that is for each of us individually and as a collective and as a one with each other and with the divine. So as we are going through this process of this Aquarian sort of waking up experience, I feel called to just name a few reminders or, I don't know, reassurances or something about this process, because as we all know, that process of coming into a new phase, a new vision, moving into a new way of being is not a linear process. It's not easy a lot of the time, and there are phases to it. So for example, this full moon that's happening tomorrow in Aquarius, I'm noticing, full moons often will signal a closure or like a completion of, or the culmination of a cycle. And so when I feel into that, I notice there might be things coming to closure, like as we move into something new, we're also going to be closing something that we're moving beyond. So there might be endings happening that could be feeling exciting, could be feeling upsetting, could be feeling sad. There could be a lot of grief, or a lot of confusion, or all of the above, you know, any combination of things that we might be feeling all at the same time. And so this becoming the vision of who we are and of what the divine is manifesting as us, through us, is going to be cyclical. It's not going to be linear, and it's not going to be all bliss. I mean, maybe I hope for you it's all bliss, but for a lot of us, it's that's the reality of this human life, is that it's not all bliss. So, right, and the remembering and the coming into the new vision might have a lot of these cycles. Typically, I can speak for myself in my own life, it does. It's, you know, there's like a big wave of change, and that completes and closes, and then there's another big wave of change and another wave after we integrate. So this square of Uranus, which is ruling this full moon, and then Saturn, is this, I mean, people talk about it as being difficult, and I'm sure in certain ways it's difficult, but I really, really feel so, it feels so important to me to name that it's a gift, it's a wisdom of existence to have these two energies doing this square, you know, talking back and forth to each other, in us, as us, that we have both of these needs. We are here to evolve, we're here to move into this vision of the divine, and then we need to pull back, and we need to, you know, come back into ourselves, realign, make sure we get really clear, and integrate the change that we've just done, and then move forward again. And Uranus and Aquarius also are associated with the nervous system. And so one thing that just came to me that seems also really important to name is that as we go through these major shifts and major changes, it's, you know, our body needs to catch up, and our nervous system needs time to integrate. Like our vision, our spirit, our self as one with the divine already is one with the divine. Like that's the reality. That part of us, you know, that part of our consciousness doesn't have an issue with change, because ultimately there is no change. Things just are. But in this reality, in this body, we have embodied these human forms, this cellular structure, and we have a nervous system, we have cellular systems that need time. So Saturn has to do with time. Also, you know, Uranus wants to basically like escape all time and just do its thing. And Saturn says, hang on, wait a minute. I am a body. I do exist in a concept of time and space. I do have actual needs in this body. Slow down, come back to reality, or this version of, you know, some version of this reality. Give me a minute. Like, I'm here as a human being to be in an earthly body for a purpose. And I am a vessel of the divine, and yet all at the same time, I am an earthly being. So, you know, the prayer can be like, help me integrate this vision of the divine on a cellular level, here and now, in my body, in my etheric being, in my energetic being, in my whole presence here on the planet. Yeah, so I just feel called to name that and to say that, there's like probably like a broken record. You say this to yourself many, many times, but I just feel called to say it in case any of you need this reminder. Just so much gentleness and self-compassion is really key and important in all of this time. And another thing I feel called to mention is that the first book that I channeled and the first book that I published, actually almost exactly 3 years ago, is called Living the One Light. And the entire book, it's a very short book, but the book is all, it's a channeled guided, or it's a channeled guide for people in the spiritual awakening process. And yeah, I'm being nudged very clearly just to mention that it's available on Amazon. And there are 2 other books that come after that, and those are published. The first 3, the entire series is a series of 8 books that are all going to be channeled and that are all related to being of service and guidance for people in this awakening process. But the first 3 are published and are all on Amazon. And the Living the One Light is the first one, and it's the most kind of simple and basic. And for anyone who wants like a soothing hand to hold, that book might be a really good place to start. And of course, I'm available to work one-on-one with you if that feels helpful at this point in your journey. If you feel called to that, you certainly can reach out to me, livingtheonelight@gmail.com, or my website, livingtheonelight.com. But so back to what I'm saying, I also feel called to name that our visions of this new earth, that we're continually co-creating with each other, might be very different from each other, or we might be seeing one piece of the elephant, like a toenail or a trunk or a tail over there, or a foot or an ankle or a whatever, piece of the ear. We each are going to be a certain puzzle piece, or we're gonna whatever is meant to move through us as the divine is going to be a particular puzzle piece of the whole vision of how we're moving as collectively as the divine, as we move into co-creating this new wave of how we are all going to live on this planet. And so, number one, I would love to hear from anyone who wants to share with me, either on the comments here or email me directly, or however you feel called. What are you being called to do? What does the divine say or nudge through you? How do you envision our next steps on this planet? And lastly, the last thing I feel called to speak to is the main thing on my mind coming, into this next year is a revisioning of the structures related to gender and sexuality and our relationship to our body. And so I'm going to be saying a lot more moving forward on all of that, but just wanted to touch on it. So I'm feeling told, I'm being told to. So, yeah, I'm currently sitting with and working on the next 3 books in that series that I'm channeling. And those books are Love Speaks, The Goddesses Speak, and The Gods Speak. And I have been doing a huge deep dive into my own relationship with the divine feminine, the divine masculine, my own inner divine feminine, divine masculine, divine sexuality, just sexuality in general, what it means to be on this planet as a being of the divine, fully, completely embodied as, literal, actual manifestations of sexuality, the life force of the divine reality. So yeah, I when I look at the astrology coming up over the next year, I've said this, I probably said this in other videos, I see a huge wave, huge potential for drastically reorienting to our sense of what gender is, what sexuality is, how we conceive of the healing, the rift between men and women, or people of all genders, but what we have typically conceived of as men and women, and that inner relationship of our inner masculine and feminine, and and yeah, I feel as at least a certain certain subset of the population very clearly and drastically making a major stand, a major shift out of patriarchal ways of being. And for me personally, my goal isn't to move into a system of matriarchy. It's to move into a system of, real, I don't even know what to call it, but ultimate balance and healing between of the masculine and of the feminine, and then a rejoining of the two back into source, and like a healing of the feminine on its own, a healing of the masculine on its own. This is inside, regardless of how we identify gender wise. This exists in each of us, and then also between us, and then in the collective. But so, first this healing of the feminine, this healing of the masculine, and then the healing between the two to whatever extent that's needed. And then this whole process being what the spirit world says to me is, a gateway, one pathway just back into the divine. Because what the spirit world reminds me of is the one became the two, became the many, became the infinite. And so one pathway back to the one is for the infinite to become the many, to become the two, and then back into the one. And I feel extremely strongly that a non-binary approach to gender is crucial. So I've often, kind of questioned the spirit world. Why are you having me channel a book called Goddesses Speak and then God Speak? It's very polarized, and I don't agree with polarizing of genders. So what's up? And they're very clear back. And they say what I just said, which is that when we remember the polarity, that's one path back to the one. And in the one, it's just one. There's no polarity in the one. So the non-dualistic, the non-binary reality is very resonant with me, extremely on the highest level. I mean, that's reality. And I feel really, really adamant that we need to be, supportive of this movement, especially of people in the teenagers, the world of a lot of our kids today. And at the same time, I'm getting this clear calling for us all to also to remember the polarity, not to just dissolve it into nothing, but to fully become all of it. And as we fully become all of it and remember all, like, the fullness of who we are, then that's again an avenue back into the one. So that's a huge part of the vision of the divine that I'm feeling really called to work on. And yeah, I'd love to know any of your thoughts on that as well. But I think that's it for now. I'll be making a separate video that's going to be a channeled message specifically for my Patreon members regarding this full moon coming up tomorrow. I'll be posting that in the next few hours, probably right when this video is being uploaded. So if you feel called to support these messages, get supported by me directly, Patreon is a really affordable, really great way to do that. The membership starts at $3 a month. And if you want one-on-one direct support from me, that starts at $25 a month, and goes to $125 a month if you want like a full hour session per month. But the $25 per month, and there's different levels of options, and so there's a way you can, if you want me to look at your chart every month and just give you input, like, oh wow, I noticed that this new moon is going to be sitting right on your Venus or whatever it is, or this full moon is going to be in your 7th house on your Mars and your North Node. Like, there could be pretty major things closing or whatever it is, in your partnerships. If you want that kind of regular support from me, that starts at $25 a month, and I love doing that. I'm gonna be doing that a lot more over the coming year, because I'm also working on a 2022 journal, astrology journal. So more on that soon. But yeah, you can reach me livingtheonelight.com or livingtheonelight@gmail.com. And I'd love to have you subscribe to this channel and join my free email list if that calls to you. Thank you so much for listening, and sending you love as we all navigate the call to move into the vision of the divine. That's why we're here. Thank you. See you soon.